Hi, this is Shambhavi. Welcome to my weekly podcast about spirituality, love, death, devotion, and waking up while living in a messy world. The Satsang with Shambhavi podcast is recorded live each week with students of our nonprofit community, Jayakula. For more information and to find out about attending a satsang, visit jayakula.org. Thanks for listening. Much love to you, wherever and however you are.
You know, it's kind of a mystery how people know how to work with teachers. And in this kind of tradition. And it's a mystery to me why I knew how to do it from the beginning without anyone telling me. That is just like an unfathomable mystery to me. Growing up in Philadelphia with Jewish parents who didn't give a bleep about this kind of thing. How did I know how to work with teachers? Why? How? And then is it possible to teach anybody that? Or is it just something you have or develop on your own through the process? Or, you know, is it karma, past life karma? I don't really know. But I can tell you this, that I listened to my teachers with utter intensity and fidelity. Like I listened to them with my whole being. When I was sitting in teachings with my teachers, I was opening to the transmission as deeply as I could in a conscious way. I was listening in a non-ordinary way. I was listening to everything they said, every nuance, every flow between us. I was just trying to get everything I possibly could out of those relationships, even when they weren't great teachers. The reason wasn't really utilitarian so much as my just utter fascination with it. It was like sitting in the middle of an orchestra playing the most incredible music and like just listening to every instrument. And I feel that way teaching too. Just being in this unbelievably rich environment where I get to use all of my listening skills. And I'm listening with my body and with my energy and with my mind and with my heart and with my intelligence. And I just love that. I mean, it's the entertainment for me. I also tried to serve my teachers in a certain way. If I was cleaning my teacher's house and I was cleaning their bathroom and they had some shampoo and soap and stuff in their folder, I would put it back exactly the same way. I wouldn't change anything. I would try to anticipate what they needed to be comfortable, but through listening, not through a sense of anxiety. I was waiting to hear and feel what was the right thing, because that was the fun of it. The fun of it was, how much can I understand, through all my senses in this circumstance. There's no analogy for it, but one time I was babysitting a friend's kid, and the kid was like, I don't know, maybe like 6 or 7 months old, something like that. We were just sitting across from each other, looking into each other's eyes and making noises. And I don't even know what kind of noises, but we were anticipating the noise the other person was going to make before they made it, or just as they were starting to make it. And it just became this incredible improvisation and almost psychic. And it was mesmerizing. And I feel that way about the student-teacher relationship. There's like this quality of attention that is mesmerizing. What is that teaching you? It's teaching you how to relate that way all the time, right? The idea isn't that you only relate to your teacher that way. The idea is you relate to everything that way. That you're always in the orchestra listening with everything that you've got and responding to what is happening. So I don't know, can that be taught? It can be said, maybe, or pointed to it. Right? But to me, that relationship is absolutely the most fascinating, magical relationship. I'm having that relationship with you guys, but most of you aren't having it with me. And when students do even start to play that game with me, it's just like, yes. Like I said in the Doha, I want companions, not disciples. If someone can play that game, you have a companion.
It just made me think of like the resonance of music. And so you are trying to copy their resonance.
Yeah.
So they could sense that.
And respond to it in my own way. Not just copy, but be another instrument playing, harmonizing and improvising. Yeah. You ever have the experience like you're playing music and you're listening so intently, every note starts to expand, and it just seems like every note seems like 1,000 notes. Like you can't even tell where the center of the note is because there's such a range of notes in one note. And I think this is what happens when we open the gates of our perceptions more through doing sadhana. We begin to hear more of the notes. And then we can be better players. Ma always said, I'm an instrument, play me. I totally get what she meant. Sometimes I just think, I can't imagine what it would be like to be her. I mean, who could play at her level? No one. At least there's a hope. I have a hope, that, a reasonable hope. But I don't think she could expect that at all. I'm sure this is so silly from her point of view, but anyway. It is a mystery. Like I know a lot of sadhana. I've been taught a lot of sadhana. I've done a lot of sadhana. But it's kind of a mystery how to move people to work with it in the most fruitful way. How do you tell someone how to become more subtle in their approach to sadhana? To get more in the conversation with their sadhana, to not do it in a rote way. How do you instruct people to be more creative with their sadhana, not changing the form, but more internally responsive to what's actually happening? It's a mystery. Like, is that just something people have to figure out, or is it actually something I could teach you? I try to share some of my own experience with this. None of my teachers ever talked about this kind of stuff. Ever. Well, some of them were just like super traditional Tibetan dudes. They don't really talk about stuff like that. I suspect that every teacher does something very uniquely expressive of themselves. Mm-hmm. Like, despite the fact that I'm teaching traditional sadhana in the way that I learned it, I suspect that if I looked at myself from the outside, I would discover that I'm doing something different from all my teachers, right? And that every teacher does this, right? Every teacher has their unique dimension. So maybe this is my unique dimension. I don't know. Yeah, you can tell me if it helps.
I wonder, like, if as a person gets more awake or has more subtlety in their perception, is that kind of like where we're all headed to kind of go through ordinary life with a more of a sense of how extraordinary it is. It's really thrilling.
The biggest thrill of everyday life is that something's here and not nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the biggest surprise. And then we just got to go on from there, right? That something came into being is in its of itself an astounding fact. Right? And I guess that's the same feeling of bringing a being into being, because that is just one way that you're mirroring what God does, right? Creating a being out of your own body that will have an appearance of some sort of objective existence, but will actually always be continuous with you. That's an exact mirror of the whole process of creation, as is everything here. This is a little more literal. So while you're, getting up 4 times a night to breastfeed and stuff, try not to forget this moment.
I feel like I learned a lot about the teacher-student relationship from other students when I was living in Maine, and that it felt more like, I don't know if this is true, but my perception of it was it felt more like an orientation, the way sexuality is an orientation, that, you were asking before, do some people have it and some people don't? I think in a way, yeah. because I get a ton out of the teachings and obviously satsang, and I love all of this, but it's not lock and load the way it is for some initiated students. And it was really fun to hear the way initiated students would talk about something you had said or done that pushed their buttons, and the way that they worked it out or dealt with it was like a revelation to me. Like it was a new way of thinking that I don't think that you specifically gave them. I think that they took, it just took for them. So it was really enlightening for me to watch, and it changed me, but I'm kind of fascinated by it too. Even though I feel outside of it, it's still enriching to experience from my vantage point. That's it.
Thank you.
It's serious, right? I mean, it's like, it's a commitment when you want to be close to a teacher and really sink into the depth of that.
Mm-hmm. It should be a commitment that feels utterly natural, like one inevitable and natural, and joyous, not onerous, thrilling, not something you fear. I mean, there's an aspect of fear to thrill, but it's like not about being afraid. I really am convinced that the only commitments we can actually make are the ones we've already made. It's kind of paradoxical, but I think that's actually how it works. And that if you could break a commitment, it was never made to begin with.
I mean, because the teacher's going to bring up all of your every single dark cobweb and corner. And
well, the circumstance will bring it up. So the circumstance of being a real student to a real teacher will bring up all those things naturally as part of the alchemy of that circumstance. I mean, this is why teachers of yore only had a few students, because there's just not many people around that are doing that. And you see the 16th Karmapa. I don't know if you know who he is, but amazing teacher, amazing being. Just like, you have to see him to know what I'm talking about. He's just magnificent. The previous guy. He had 6 principal students. He was the head of the Kagyu lineage worldwide. He had thousands of monks running around doing his bidding, doing their prayers. All kinds of people around. Thousands and thousands of people all over the world loving the heck out of him. He was pretty lovable too. He had 6 principal students. Like 6 people he was like really getting in there and training. You're talking about this guy who has the stature of the Dalai Lama, basically. Probably has more realization than the Dalai Lama. Oversees a gazillion monasteries and a gazillion Western practitioners and all these monks. And has 6 people he's working with uber closely. Those 6 people became teachers also. The form of the relationship that really sort of fits the description in the ancient texts is very rare.